On November 12, 1966, 5 gravediggers in West Virginia witnessed a man-like bird flying over the trees. This was the first of many sightings of what would become known as the Mothman. If you haven't already seen the documentary we did, then I would watch that first, then come back to learn 5 facts about this legendary creature. As always, sit back and enjoy. The men in black were about. During the time of the Mothman sightings, Mary Heyer was a newspaper reporter for the Athens Messenger and managed their office in Point Pleasant. Her newspaper column was called Where the Waters Mingle, and in it she reported on odd occurrences in and around Point Pleasant, and was relentless in her search for the truth behind the Mothman sightings. She was also closely associated with author John Keel, who wrote the book The Mothman Prophecies, that was later turned into the highly fictionalized movie of the same name, starring Richard Gere. However, her newspaper articles and some of her bizarre claims seem to have drawn unwanted attention from the men in black. She alleges they paid several visits to her office in an attempt to stop her releasing more information. These terrifying ordeals began in 1967 when Mary was working late in her office and a very short man entered the room. She described him as having large hypnotic eyes and not dressed for the weather. After studying a pen on her desk, the man laughed and then left. Mary had another run-in with the short man while walking to a car one night when he was just stood across the road looking at her, until a black car sped around the corner and picked him up. Another encounter was with a strange oriental man dressed in black who told her to stop researching the subjects of flying saucers. She also discovered that other men dressed in black suits were going around Point Pleasant claiming they were friends of her and asking to photograph and interview people who witnessed UFOs or other paranormal activity during the Mothman years. Mary died unexpectedly on February 15th, 1970. She was just 54 years of age. Many people with links to the Mothman sightings died young and unexpectedly. Speaking of Mary's sudden death, after the first sighting of the Mothman in Point Pleasant in 1966, many believed he was some sort of prophetic creature who had come to warn the people of Point Pleasant of an impending disaster. This belief was strengthened when just over a year after the sighting, the Silver Bridge disaster occurred, taking 46 lives. However, few realised that in addition to these losses, there have been numerous other unexplained deaths of people who have had close links to the Mothman. These include Fred Freed, who died of a heart attack at just 53. At the time of his sudden death, he was working on a documentary about UFOs and the Mothman. Donald North, who supposedly saw the Mothman, died in a car crash in 1997. Conspiracy author Jim Keith, who was responsible for writing about a CIA connection to the first Mothman sighting in 1967, died at age 50 during a knee surgery. Ivan T. Sanderson was a naturalist and cryptozoologist, and was a consultant to John Keel, author of the Mothman Prophecies, advising him on the natural history behind the Mothman sightings. Sanderson developed aggressive cancer and died in 1973, aged just 62. Now, these are just a fraction of the tragic deaths with links to the Mothman incident, causing many to believe the Mothman curse is very real. What do you think? There have been some crazy conspiracies linked to the Mothman. Over the years, the Mothman sighting has been blamed for a lot of tragic deaths and disasters, some of which we just mentioned, but others are more on the crazy side. For example, just days before the Chernobyl disaster, in April 1986, workers as well as residents of nearby Pripyat witnessed something strange in the days prior to the explosion. They reported seeing an unknown winged creature flying over the town and the nuclear plant. Those who witnessed it described it as a man-like bird with red eyes, and some came to refer to it as the Black Bird of Chernobyl. It's been suggested this is the same creature spotted perched on the Silver Bridge shortly before disaster struck at Point Pleasant. Another strange conspiracy linked to the Mothman followed the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. Rumours surfaced that onlookers reported seeing a large crane-like creature near the towers 5 days before the attack. Fast forward to August 2007, a bridge on the Interstate 35 in Minneapolis collapsed. 13 people were killed, and nearly 145 were injured. Shortly after, reports started to circulate that a Mothman-like figure had appeared near the bridge around a month before the tragedy. The sightings caused Mothman believers to theorise that it could be a paranormal entity rather than a cryptic creature, and as well as the Silver Bridge collapse, was seen as a warning of impending disaster. Theories on what Mothman could be. Although lots has been written about the Mothman in books and newspapers, the truth is, no one knows exactly what it was, or if it was even real. One theory is that it was nothing more than a bird, in particular a barn owl, as this is the closest fit to the description. It has a huge wingspan when fully extended, and will appear much larger than it actually is. Its eyes are known to look red when light is flashed across them, and they do make a gut-wrenching screeching sound similar to that described by the original Mothman witnesses. There has also been suggestions it was a crane or possibly a great blue heron. Both birds are large, with huge wingspans, beady eyes and long legs. Another possibility is a low-flying plane that became distorted in the dark, and the witnesses convinced themselves it was something more sinister. Or it could have even been an elaborate hoax stoked up by the media and the residents of Point Pleasant. In particular, a guy called Gray Baker, who brought the Mothman to the wider audience in 1970. He was known to exploit these type of sightings for financial gain when he realised their massive public appeal. I'd love to hear your thoughts on who or what you think the Mothman was. The legend is still very much alive. Point Pleasant in West Virginia will always be associated with the Mothman legend, and as a result, some of the locals have made a living out of the visitors who flock to the town in search of the famous creature, keeping this mystery very much alive. If you speak to the residents, they will insist the Mothman is true, and the town has embraced this. It now has a Mothman museum, where it displays a collection of historical documents of eyewitness accounts and newspaper clippings of the Mothman sightings, as well as photographs and the largest collection of props and memorabilia from the movie The Mothman Prophecies. In the shop, there are souvenirs and clothing, all bearing the Mothman logo. In addition to the museum, Point Pleasant holds an annual Mothman festival that commemorates the mysterious entity and attracts visitors from all around the world. There is also a Mothman statue and a recently installed 24-hour moth cam. All of this is ensuring that the Mothman legend is not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's 5 facts about the mysterious Mothman. I hope you've enjoyed this top 5 short, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.